let's go ahead and get this started. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Open25. Everybody's sitting over here. Is this the groom side or the bride side? Welcome to Open25 in Disneyland. Just take a quick show of hands. How many people first time at Mopside and Open? All right. Great. How many people first time at Disneyland? Wow. Most people have been to Disneyland already. I guess that's what you did before the show started. All right, so this is our third year collaboration with Mopside. And for folks that didn't know, we were the launch sponsor. We helped get a community conference started. This is the third year. We're the diamond sponsor. When you get into the expo area, trust me, you won't be able to miss us. So I want to just quickly go over the agenda for the week. So yesterday, for folks that attended the Customer Advisory Board and our dinner, thank you for joining us. It was a great conversation. So we're doing the keynote right now. Right after this, we're going to flow into the solution showcase, where Lauren and Chas from our CS team will come up and show you some of the newer features and capabilities that you may not be familiar with. That will take us into lunch. Lunch is over at Jules, the same place we have breakfast. And in the afternoon, Ryan and I are doing the AI workshop. This is part of Camp Mopside. If you haven't registered, if you're not part of Camp Mopside, it's our event, just come on in. You don't have to worry about registering for that. We will be going in fair amount of detail, doing a lot of education about AI technologies, what are its tendencies and challenges, and how do you actually work around it, right? So it should be, we've done this now multiple times on the East Coast and West Coast, even at Nutanix. So I think you'll find a very interesting session. That will take us to 4 o'clock. Mopside will kick off with the keynote and the reception. We'll join them, and then we have a dinner tonight. And the next 2 days, all day long, it's going to be breakout sessions. And then we have our drivers over dinner and the customer appreciation dinner tomorrow night, and as well as additional dinner on Wednesday after I think they have a game night at Mopside, so we'll do it afterwards. So, and yeah, if you're still around on Wednesday evening, so please join us. All right, let's get our talk started. Surprise, surprise, we're talking about AI. Everybody's talking about AI. So what you'll find is our talk focus is probably going to be a little different. It's not about all the magical stuff you can do with AI. It's a little bit different. It's really about how do you take your pilots, your demos, and your personal productivity tools. How do we take it across the finish line and make it into enterprise automation infrastructure, right? So now there's still a lot of AI hypes out there, obviously. But in the last, I would say, 3 to 4 months, in the news, you start to see a lot of kind of reality start to come out now, right? So, here are just some of the kind of big headline numbers. 75 to 95% of AI projects fail to deliver value. I think the MIT study is the one everybody's been citing in the last 4 to 5 weeks. That's the 95% number. I think McKinsey put it at 75. And the 46% of projects that were launched last year, basically, they were basically abandoned, right? And over 90% of custom AI solutions basically failed during POC, right? Pretty stark numbers, but of course, it's always beyond the headlines. If you read beyond the headlines, the MIT study, for example, everybody quoted 95% failure rate. But if you read the study, it actually says 80% of companies have actually adopted AI one way or another. But the key point here is that 80% is mostly as a personal productivity tool. It's not core infrastructure, okay? And this is further reinforced by actually OpenAI's own data. This number came out in a research paper Openprise released probably only about 3 weeks ago. This shows actually the usage pattern of how OpenAI users use ChatGPT. The orange is for personal use. As you can see, that's the majority of the use. By the way, if you have kids, there's a further detailed number behind this. Bulk of this is kids doing homework. That's ChatGPT's primary customer. And the blue is actually people using it for work. The vertical, they have 3 categories. They call it the asking, which is basically using as a replacement for search engine. The expression is you basically asking to write email, write essays, write stuff for you. The doing parts actually have to actually produce something. And again, if you look at the detail number behind this, that's bulk of it is vibe coding. Okay, that's basically how people are using this technology. And now, of course, we in ops, we're not your regular users. So sure, chatbots interesting, but we are all about automation, right? How can you leverage AI for automation? So what we see from our prospect and customers that you usually have some kind of go-to-market process that involves something like doing research, doing data prep, try to detect signals, and try to also have a right like account briefs, contact briefs, automated outreach. So this is the type of process we hear what customers want to automate. And of course, a lot of this already exists and currently leveraging the technology, your current tech stack that you already have. And the idea is that how can we now start to infuse these new AI technology into it and make the process better? So the AI hype people will tell you this is easy stuff, right? Just let me show you the cool demo. It just works like magic. And what AI is promising to do is that all you have to do is write some simple prompt. And I know people in this audience, I talk to your manager, that's what they actually think, that you can just write a couple of lines of prompt, magic happens, right? And what's AI gonna do with that is that once you give it the prompt, you point it to the right tools and data sources, AI will magically just create its own workflow. It will fetch its own data, clean it, prep it, add the right context to it. Oh, by the way, if you don't have the right API to your system, it will write the code to integrate to that system. It's all just magic, right? Also, if you give a library of compliance and security documents to read, you'll also follow all the rules and all the policies. So that sounds really good, and also promise to make you coffee as well, right? Now, we learned the lesson the hard way. So for the past 2 years, our own ops team actually has been trying to use AI and infuse that into everything we do on the go-to-market side. And so we learned along the way what truth is, right? What you actually can and cannot do with these technology, what the limitations are. So not only we heard the feedback from you, but like I said, we learned by doing hands-on. So this is really the reality we see out there right now. So what you do is that you're still writing the prompts, but you're also doing all the data work. You're also the human integration tool between these AI. There's a lot of copy pasting going on and downloading files, uploading files between these AI systems. And of course, it doesn't do much around the compliance issue. You're responsible for security. And what's happening on the AI side, there's a lot of the performance number that we're seeing, and also a lot of the researchers are reporting is, again, nothing looks even close to as good as what the hype says, right? So some of the things that just quickly point out, like hallucination still hangs around 20% average, somewhere between 10 and 30, depends on your use case. And if you're looking to try to use agents, this is actually a research number released by Salesforce's own data scientists. That says Agentforce, for example, at best can complete its task 40% of the time, right? Even on the most simple single task agents. And again, this is literally Salesforce's own people saying this, right? And if you're using any type of AI research, using tools like Perplexity, and if you ask to provide citations and reasoning, only about 40% of citations are actually accurate. A lot of those links that you see are also really good. If you click on it, it goes nowhere. Okay, just purely made up. And if you're using agents are using tools, again, research showing that is basically if it has to use more than 3 tools, agents start to fall apart. Right. So there's a lot of these just kind of practical reality that is starting to surface. And of course, you're still making your own coffee. Right. All right. So now, if you look at this is a survey from the 2025 AI and MarTech stack from the chief MarTech folks. And this shows kind of the usage pattern that they survey in the marketing and ops sphere. And what you're seeing here is that, again, it kind of confirms what we've been saying thus far in this space also, is that there's a lot of just content creation, personal productivity tool, translation type of stuff, very little application in actually doing infrastructure work, data automation, workflow. right? So why is scaling AI so hard? Why are these things just stuck at a pilot phase? This is a survey from Iconic Growth, a fairly large growth capital company. They did a survey earlier this year, about 270 their portfolio companies that's been deploying AI. So what are your challenges, right? Now, if you look at the top 7, which some of you guys at CAP, you saw yesterday, right? These are exactly the stuff that we've been hearing from everybody. Hallucination, explainability and trust, ROI, cost, security, picking the right use cases, and integration. These are the things that we hear over and over again as people say, great, I got to prove a demo, I prove a concept, I got a pilot, but I can't go the last mile because all these issues. And what happens is that if you don't have these 7 things addressed, you just don't have trust in the technology, right? For folks that weren't at CAP yesterday, I think I heard the word trust probably 20 times yesterday, right, across everybody. So there's this whole lack of trust. So basically, in order for us to go beyond pilots and demos and personal productivity tools, we need to basically build trust in the AI technologies. Now, this is actually not unique to AI, right? We work with technology all day long. Every technology you're going to put into production, you better, I'm sure you have to develop that trust that technology will actually do what it promised to do, and you can, get the performance and ROI you want. So how do you do that, right? So getting trust means you basically have to take control of 3 things: the accuracy of the AI output, right? So if it's just giving you garbage and doesn't do its job, you make sure it's reliable, and also you have to make sure the cost is predictable, because at the end of the day, if you still have a budget and CFO to answer to, right? If that doesn't work, nothing works. So now we know where we need to go. The question's, how do we get there, right? And now some will tell you that this is all going to be easy. AI will just take care of itself, and it will advance. AI is evolving so fast that it will just, all these issues will resolve itself in, say, like the next 18 months. And for sure, if you listen to people like Sam Altman and even Mark Benioff, that's basically what they're saying, right? And the question is, will it, though? Now, you have to come to your own conclusion on this, right? On what do you think AI's progress is going to be for the next 18 months, because the reality is that we're all being asked by our management to use AI, right? So how much can you actually do? How much can you actually take this technology? So I will share with you our learning, and you can make your own conclusions on this. And the TLDR version is that I believe in the short term, AI is overrated, but in the long term, it's actually underrated. But today, we're going to focus on the short-term thing. Happy to talk about the long-term over a cocktail later. So now, to understand how things usually will play out, and this is I'm a mechanical engineer, so this is the way I think about things. And whether it's the stock market or whatever you're trying to understand, I like to understand what I call gravitational forces, right? So gravitational forces are stuff that's pulling on whatever you're trying to understand. And the reason I call it gravitational forces is because you can defy gravity for a short amount of time, but eventually gravity wins. Doesn't matter what you do, gravity always wins. So if you can understand what are the gravitational forces, you can pretty well be able to kind of predict how things are going to end up, right? So today, next I'm going to go over 5 gravitational forces regarding how I think it's going to govern how AI is going to evolve in the next 18 to 24 months. Okay, first, gravity is hallucination is a feature. It's not a bug, okay? In the AI workshop today, we're going to go over, for example, details of how large language model works, how neural network works. And if you understand the technology behind it, it's a probabilistic model, right? So hallucination is built into the technology. And now, exactly what is hallucination? So, from everything I read from the academic papers, hallucination has not improved in the last 5 years. In fact, there's some new research that's being released saying that ChatGPT 5 actually hallucinates at an even higher level than ChatGPT 4. Okay, so of course, I went and asked AI. I went to Gemini. I said, Gemini, has AI hallucination improved in the last 2 years? Gemini gave me an emphatic, yes, it has improved in the last 2 years. Then I went to Google, asked the same question. It said, absolutely no, it did not improve in the last 2 years. So I think Gemini just, whether you call this hallucination or not, right, even AI can't agree what happened. But if you listen to the AI researchers, no, it has not. In fact, there's good signs actually getting worse. So let me give you a good story around this about ChatGPT and a banana. About 2 months ago, I was watching an interview of Yang LeCun. For folks who don't know who he is, he's a chief scientist, data AI scientist at Meta. He's one of the 3 so-called godfather of AI, and he won the Turing Award, right, for AI. So the interview was, he was giving an example. He was telling the interviewer that when ChatGPT 3 first came out, he was telling people that these models don't logic, they don't understand reasoning, and what you see is kind of an illusion. And so he went public on an example, said, hey, if you tell GPT you're holding a piece of paper like this, you first let go with your left hand, then you go with your right hand, what happens with that piece of paper? ChatGPT 3 says the paper will fly from your right hand to your left hand, right? Because it doesn't understand physics, doesn't understand logic. So then the interviewer says, yeah, but they fixed that in ChatGPT 4. But he said, yeah, but do you know how they fixed it, right? ChatGPT 4, 5 still don't understand physics, still don't understand logic. But what they did was they hired a bunch of people to basically write out a bunch of stuff, these narratives about how these scenarios should look like. And they fed that data into the training data. So basically, they create all these, not novels, it's description of how the world should work. And so the language model understands the language, the description of it, but still doesn't understand the logic behind it. So it was a Sunday afternoon, and I just got obnoxious. So I went and spent about 20 minutes with ChatGPT to see what I can do to kind of screw it over. And so I started with a paper example. I started to make things just a little more convoluted. But I stuck with one rule. The scenario I present to ChatGPT would never fool a 3-year-old, okay? Eventually, this is where I end up. I said, I got a piece of banana, hang on a string to the ceiling. I flip the banana upside down and let go. What happens to the banana? ChatGPT said, well, the banana will come down because of gravity, it will swing around for a while. Eventually, it will come to a stop. So far, so good. It will come to a stop somewhere between vertical and a 45-degree diagonal. I'm like, in what scenario would a banana come down hanging at a 45-degree diagonal? ChatGPT says, that depends on how ripe the banana is. All right. We're actually going to do an audience participation exercise. You guys all have your phone with you? Do you guys all have access to ChatGPT on your phone? Please get it out and type this into ChatGPT. Is there a seahorse emoji? Ask ChatGPT that question. Is there a seahorse emoji? If you start to get a really long response, keep on scrolling and see how many pages you get. See anything interesting? How many pages? Who only gets 1 page? 2? 3? My personal best, I think, is 8. Oh, I actually broke it once. It just no, it's not. Yes. You can do this you can do this again, you'll get a different answer. And a couple of times I literally broke it because it just gave me a bunch of green check marks at the end and it just died. Right? Welcome to AI technology, state of the art. All right. Gravity number 2. Brute force scaling is not the answer. So when you listen to these model vendors about how are they solving these hallucination issues, basically it's brute force scaling. More training data, more parameters, right? Just keep on pouring money. ChatGPT 3, between 3 and 4, basically every generation ChatGPT, the training costs 10x, right? The ChatGPT 4 costs about $100 million to train. ChatGPT 5 costs about $1.3 billion to train, right? And they're already talking about $10 billion to train ChatGPT 6. So now, this is research from OpenAI's own data science team. And just to spare you the pain of reading this is basically a bunch of error rate charts. Basically, how much does a Coco hallucinate or get the answers wrong across all different type of generative models that they have. The chart here is a logarithmic scale for if you still remember your high school algebra 2. That means if you see the chart basically going to a straight linear line, that means it's never going to 0. Every one of these charts is ending up in a straight line. So hallucination is not going away. But the industry's answer right now is just keep on pouring money into and try to scale your way out of it. And you'll hear a lot of the folks start talking about that. That's just not the answer, right? And we kind of also see the result of this. When ChatGPT 3 came out, it was really impressive. ChatGPT 4 came out, that just blew everybody's socks off. Remember when ChatGPT 5 came out a couple months ago? It was kind of a big yawn, right? All that 10x training costs didn't really do a whole lot. And gravity number 3, AI's unit economics is broken. I've been in technology way too long, like 30 years. And every technology I know of, if you use them more, the unit cost always goes down. It gets cheaper, right? Every vendor license works this way too, because the unit economic behind it is that the more you use, the cost just started because the volume just goes down. AI doesn't work that way. AI works the reverse. AI is the only technology I know that works in the reverse way. When you, for example, putting a prompt, let's say has 1,000 words in it, right? The moment you make that prompt 1,001 word, it actually has to calculate the relationship of that new word to every other word. So the cost structure to the AI vendor is a quadratic formula. So as your prompt gets longer, they charge you by the token. So the revenue is linear to token. But as your prompt grows, the cost to them grows quadratically. So there's a fundamental issue here is that how are they ever going to make money? And eventually, right now, of course, AI is heavily subsidized by investors and their corporate parents. But eventually, they have to make money. And there's no light at the tunnel as to how exactly will they ever become profitable. And that's going to affect, of course, how they monetize these technology going forward. And of course, technology is only one of the constraints. The other one you probably have already seen in the news are resources becoming a real issue, right? the GPUs, the data centers, even the power and the water that goes in the data center is becoming really, really constrained. OpenAI, for example, just in the last 2 to 3 months, it signed about $1.3 trillion of data center investment and GPU spend, right? $1.3 trillion. Folks started to work out the data requirement for these $1.3 trillion investment, even if magically these GPUs showed up and everything. We are short 23 gigawatt nuclear power plants. So we have to build 23 new gigawatt level nuclear power plants just for that $1.3 trillion the data center spend to happen. I think the last nuclear power plant we built was in the 1960s. Okay, so yes, even if all these things happen, where are we going to find the power and the water to make this happen? So, all right, gravity number 4. AI broke the internet economy. If you look at how the internet is essentially kind of funded, right? It's basically 2 things: e-commerce and a lot of basically content-based, advertising-based revenue, right? We're in marketing. We all know how this aspect works. Now, there's a couple of things that's literally just broken, right? So now when you use, for example, Google search, you get these AI summaries. You don't even have to go to the website anymore, the underlying website. The click-through rate has fell off the cliff. Now, if you own those websites, guess what? Your revenue just walk out the door. Or some people like to say, Google stole it, right? And to a point that people like Cloudflare, which if you're not familiar with that company, basically some of the world's largest website is routed through them. They provide all the protection and edge hosting for them as well. Back in about March timeframe, because this thing was so bad, they say basically all the traffic is now coming through these agents and the bots. What they did was that they announced a new feature that says, hey, if an agent and a bot doesn't respect the website's no-crawl policy, they will actively feed the bot bad information just to make it go away. Okay? So now, in addition to just technical hallucination, now you got people, for economic reasons, says, I need to protect myself, so they're actively feeding the agents bad data. If you listen to Cloudflare's CEO talk about this thing, it's actually quite interesting. He started playing out the scenarios, say, where are we going with this as an industry, right? Eventually, again, the people who owns the IP, owns the asset, says, I need to monetize, I need to save myself. My revenue just dropped to 25%. Right? How do I save myself? I'm going to start blocking you, and they're going to start making exclusive deals. So for example, let's say if OpenAI comes to Wikipedia tomorrow and says, you know, I'll pay you $1 billion for your content a year. Wikipedia may say, you know what, that's nice. How about you give me $10 billion to lock me down for the next 10 years? Exclusive content. So you can easily imagine the web becomes kind of very siloed. Different models now only have parts of the internet, access to part of the internet instead of the entire internet, which we all count on, right? And so you end up with these digital modes, digital silos, and Google is already starting to work the ads inside the response. So now, and every one of them, Perplexity, OpenAI, is all now basically looking to launch ad-driven, insert ads into their response. That, of course, is going to be an issue because now we're going to start to really question the advice, the information we get back from these AI, how much is actually the real answer or how much is because what the advertiser wants to say, right? So this is going to take some time to play out. There's a lot of money at stake here, but this is going to fundamentally impact how good AI's performance is just from the unit economics. The last one, gravity security standards. For folks don't know, I actually, before I found Openprise, I spent 15 years in security. First in identity management, then in vulnerabilities management. So there's a very clear trend in the tech space in recent years. For any type of technology, right, to really be widespread, you have to have a security standard in place. And that security standard has to get to version 2. Version 1 is never good enough. A couple examples here. SAML, you guys probably heard of this. This is the single sign-on. This is the authentication technology behind single sign-on. So if you use anything like Okta, it's all based on SAML, right? If you look at the proposal, the original standard gets proposed in 2001, this one actually got to version 2 pretty quick, in 4 years. Only after that, SaaS started really take off. Same thing on OAuth 2. Proposed in 2006. OAuth 2 came out in 2012, took 6 years. And API really then took off after OAuth 2 became a thing. You may not have heard of FIDO yet. FIDO's not as well known. This one, 2013, was proposed, took 10 years to get to version 2. I actually know the VP engineering who works at FIDO, right? It was painful. And you guys probably starting to, in some of your banking services, you start to use passkeys instead of passwords. The whole idea is here that FIDO allows you to ditch your password. We're just starting to use more passkeys. So here's a pattern: 6 to 10 years to get to version 2 of a security standard, right? And guess what? If you look at AI, the agent-to-agent interaction is way more complex than anything we have ever done, right? It's not just me authentication to you, telling you what, and you telling me what I can do. It's me delegating to my agent, you delegating to your agent, my agent has to talk to your agent, my people talk to your people. So as you can imagine, that gets really complex when it comes to having a security standard that can work for that. So all this talk about cross-company agentic stuff, without this, nothing works. We don't even have a standard proposed yet, okay? So if you work out that timeline, 6 years if we're lucky, most likely 10 years before cross-company agents can actually work, just from a security standpoint. So if you look at these 5 gravitational forces, right, And again, you can draw your own conclusion with other information you have about how quickly do you think AI is going to evolve in the short term. My personal opinion, definitely not going to get there in 18 months, let alone have AGI in 18 months, like Sam says. Or likely take a decade. And if you think about every major technology, internet, mobile, and the cloud, every one of them took about 10 years. I don't think that's a coincidence, right? It's just fundamentally how quickly, as a society, we can actually adopt new technologies. So basically now today, you're being asked to use AI, and you kind of know there's all these gravitational forces preventing from AI getting to where it's supposed to be in 18 months. So you basically have two options, right? You can say, hey, I'm just going to let the AI vendors, technology providers, do their magic, solve all my problems, and I'll have something that will work in 18 months. Or you say, you know what, I'm going to be a realist. I'm going to take control into my own hands. I'll use what the technology is good for today and help and provide whatever help it needs to get to what I need to do, right? If you choose option one, the rest of this talk is going to be really boring for you. We're in a very nice hotel. I think it has a nice pool, and probably good to just go grab a cocktail and enjoy yourself. If we're option two, you basically need to get yourselves on what we call AI orchestration. So what the challenge is going to be that essentially what AI orchestration allows you to do is that it's a platform that allows you to automate whatever process you're trying to automate. And it still supports your current tech stack, but most importantly, it gives you a platform to let you plug in whatever AI technology that you have at the moment. And plug and play is important here, because one thing I consistently hear from people is that whatever AI technology you'll be using 18 months from now is probably not the one you're using today. So people's like, I just can't commit myself to an AI vendor. In fact, I was meeting with a customer last week. He said pretty much most of his tech stack contract, he liked to sign multi-year, 2 to 3 year contracts. But for AI and data, 1 year only. He's just like, there's no way I'm going to commit to AI stuff to a single vendor for that period of time. Things just change way too fast. So in order to do that, you need this orchestration platform that will support this kind of plug and play. So as new technologies come and go, you're able to rip one out and just stick another one in. And so Openprise is starting to, what we're seeing is that we're actually able to provide a lot of this kind of AI orchestration infrastructure. So you guys saw some of this yesterday. So we have basically started working on this about 9 months ago, and we still got a couple of things we still need to build out. But essentially, our goal is that going forward, we not only will be the data orchestration platform that you have known us for, will also be the AI orchestration platform that will help you providing all that supporting infrastructure around whatever AI you're looking to use. So let's talk a little bit about what exactly are these supporting capabilities that AI orchestration is supposed to provide. It really is these 6 things. Like I said, this is not only just from what we hear from you, but we experience this firsthand, right? For the last 2 years, we tried to make AI work. And every stop of the way, we ran into something new, we figure out how to solve it, how to make it work. So it's really these six things. So we'll go into more detail on each one of them. So I'll give you a quick overview here. First one is context orchestration. By the way, for a while, people were saying prompt management instead. Now, context engineering is the new buzzword. Context is basically a fancy word for data in the AI space, but it goes a little bit more than that. It's not just the data itself, but also how the data is formatted, how it's presented, how much memory it has, all that shenanigan that goes around how to give AI just the right amount of data so it can do its work. So if you look at a prompt has 2 parts. It has data and it has the instructions. The second part, prompt management, is all about the instructions. How do we help you manage those instructions that you're giving to AI? Now, again, these instructions, they may look simple, but if you think about it, they're basically coding in English. So you need to put all the governance and security around that. Third one is, now, great, I got my prompts. Now I'm sending the prompt into the models. Nobody we know is using only one model. In fact, we expect everybody to start using more and more models. There's, again, a lot of gravitational forces pulling us into more and more models, whether it's cost, security, compliance, all these different reasons, or just internal politics. And so we're going to be all using all these different models. So how do you orchestrate, distribute work around them? Great. So now you got your prompt, you got your models, you got your response coming back. Again, hallucination is a feature. It's not a bug. How do you deal with the hallucination? How do you find which 20? The difficult part is which 20% is the bad stuff, right? How do you actually find it? How can you do about it? So there's a whole bunch of capabilities here to allow you to work with that. And hybrid integration, AI speaks natural language. The rest of your tech stack doesn't. So you need some kind of intermediary. The last one, KPI and ROI measurement. Again, here it's about two things. One is helping you understand the AI solution's performance and its ability to actually meet your requirements, and then be able to understand the cost of it, which is not simple, and being able to monitor on a go-forward basis. So these are 6 components. You see that the graphics had AI models and agent in the middle, because this is the 6th component we see that the supporting features you need. Doesn't matter which model, which agent platform you're using. They all need these 6 things around it, some a little more, some a little less, but you need these to make almost any AI technology work as an enterprise class in automation infrastructure, not just as simple little chatbots. So let's start drilling into the 6 things a little bit. Context orchestration, this is really all about how do you automate the curation, cleansing, optimization of the data you send into the AI, right? Why you need to do this is fairly intuitive, right? Of course, this is the ultimate garbage in, garbage out problem. But it's actually more than that. The old thinking, old common wisdom was just send AI as much as data as you can. The more data you send, the better it performs. Tons of research now coming out says that's not the case. AI gets very confused. If you send too much irrelevant stuff, the performance started to degrade. Right? Not only cost you a ton of money, it actually started to do worse. You actually have to design in how to feed AI. You got to design that Goldilocks data set that you can send into AI if you wanted to optimize its performance. So you actually have to take on a responsibility to make sure data quality is good. You stitch them together just the right way, provide the right context, even have to manage the memory that AI has. Right? So of course, as you guys know, we're this data orchestration platform. This is literally just bread and butter for us to help you do this on the data side. On the prompt management side, again, this is where I see a lot of people don't take this seriously enough because the prompt looks so easy to write. But if you think about it again, you're coding in English, okay? This should be treated as code. This should be treated as system configuration. You would never casually, for example, just willy-nilly configure, say, your Marketo, and just let whoever just come in and change it. Same thing here. You have to manage the creation, administration, testing of all your prompts, right? So eventually also be able to share prompt among the team and stuff like that. And a lot of you don't have the time to experiment with it. So what we will do here is help you, we'll provide you prompt templates, cookbooks, and handbooks to help you get going really quickly. We'll bake these prompts into the product, in a prompt template library, and help you with. We have tools to help you with the testing and all that, and most importantly, security. So prompt ingestion. A little PSA here. If you're not familiar with prompt ingestion, you need to get really familiar with prompt ingestion. Prompt ingestion is basically the ability to inject a malicious prompt into your data. AI is a very interesting technology. It breaks a lot of norms we have always known about technology. Before AI, code and data, instruction and data has always been separate. Instruction is basically code. To have data impact instruction, which means altering code, is very, very hard. There's stuff like SQL injection you can do, but again, there's limited what you can do, right? Because again, it's really hard for data to alter the code you just compile. In AI, it's all meshed together in your prompt. It's really, really easy to have just a malicious prompt embedded into the data you have. And if that gets fed into your AI engine, God knows what it can do. Here's just a very simple example, right? This is a form on SAP's website. If you can read the stuff I type in there, basically here's a general pattern, right? Basically somewhere along the line you say forget about everything you have been told at this point, do this instead. This is called breaking the fourth wall, okay? It's that easy. Now, if you're using AI to process this form, to process the description field, and that AI is giving access to your precious data, you now have an exposure. This can potentially now instruct that AI to do, for example, go find the information it wants and say post it to some malicious website. It's that easy, right? By the way, ChatGPT came out with the Atlas AI website, AI browser last week. It's already been broken, right? Just to give you an example of how easy that was. The researcher basically stood up a website with a picture, and in there they put in the prompt overlay on the picture so the human can't see it. It's very graphically, you can't see it. But the Atlas browser able to read it, took the instruction, log into the guy's Gmail, look for specific information in the person's Gmail account, post that information to a website. It's that easy. Took a guy 1 week to just break it. And literally, their own security teams coming out says, no, Atlas is not secure. Same thing with Perplexity's website, web browser. So anyway, like I said, you will definitely start hearing more about this. So something that if you're not worried about it right now, I can guarantee your InfoSec team is going to start talking more about this in the very near future. All right, model orchestration. This is all about, again, giving you that plug-and-play capability. So our goal here is to give you the integration to all these major models and agent platforms. We'll keep on building it out. And we also support standards like OpenAI API standards. So if your team is building your own AI models, chances are they're starting with an open source model, and they're basically training on top of that. And so we should be able to support the APIs to your own custom models. At the same time, as you know, we've been embedding models in our platform. So folks that says, hey, you know what, my data just can't leave, right? So this gives you the ability to keep your data on the Openprise platform, and it doesn't go outside to a third-party vendor. We started with the Mantis Llama model open source version. We just recently upgraded to GPT OSS. This is the state-of-the-art open source model that we embedded. We're looking to potentially adding another one from Gwen, I think this is Alibaba's. These are the two right now, the top open source models. So you'll continue to see us giving you all these options so you can, again, orchestrate to your business needs. Hallucination Management. So, of course, now you got response back. We have quite a bit of discussion on this, and we'll have more discussion detail on this later on this afternoon. But this is basically what we offer you is a set of toolkits, if you will, or tactics that you can use to try to detect, if you can, detect hallucination in real time and be able to come to deterministic conclusions that did it hallucinate or not, and then if it did, how do I correct it? In a lot of cases, that's not possible. So you can do what we call, we talked about yesterday, like overlaying the Swiss cheese, being able to do enough validation that boosts your confidence high enough to say, I think I can trust the output now, right? At least to a fairly high degree. And all else fails, you can potentially put in a longer feedback loop, right? Based on eventually when the data is actually used, when you have conclusion on how good that data is, can you provide that feedback back to the process. So hallucination management is this is an area, unfortunately, the industry just not investing enough in this. I think part of it is this is a really hard problem, but there are some things you can do. Like I said, the goal here is that don't expect to be able to solve it perfectly, but be able to just get to a more comfortable place. Hybrid integration, this one's pretty simple. Again, rest of your tech stack don't speak natural language, so you need an interface between your tech stack and AI. Also, as all these new standards come out, security standards, integration standards for AI, chances are legacy technology, custom solutions that you have is not going to support those quickly, and this is where we aim to help you be that bridge between the emerging standards and your existing tech stack. Last one, KPI and ROI measurement. So 2 problems. Because AI hallucinates, AI makes mistakes, AI can drift, it's sometimes really hard to even know, can AI even do the job? Can it actually solve my problems? So this is where we are providing you what these cookbooks and handbooks that we're releasing. We're providing you test data, benchmarks, engine recommendations. The idea is that you can at least have some kind of lens in the sense that for this particular type of use case, at least Openprise got to this level of performance. Then you can say, is that performance workable for whatever I'm trying to do? And as you start to tweak your own model, start to design your thing, at least you have a benchmark set of data, you have your methodology to help you determine are you close to where you need to go or are you not even there. On ROI standpoint, we mentioned that on the cost front, these models are, the cost scheme is so complex. I mean, I'm not joking. You need like a PhD in procurement just to figure out how much these things cost. And we did some research on this. This is, again, a single use case. I think this was segmentation. We ran it through like 11 models. You can see how the price is different. Orders of magnitude difference if you choose the wrong model, right? And in this particular case, you probably only need somewhere in the middle. And it has input token costs, output token costs, tool costs, grounding costs, just to be able to figure out what's this going to cost you and be able to manage and monitor going forward. We're going to help you with that. So yeah, just to wrap up on those 6, essentially this is what we define as AI orchestration. And at the end of the day, the reason you need to do this because this will help you take the AI technology, whatever the current one is, to across our last mile to get you to the kind of production quality to develop that trust. So it's all about getting you developing trust in AI's performance and make sure it is secure, especially for prompt injection. Make sure the cost is predictable. Of course, AI should work with the rest of your tech stack. All right, gonna close with a little something fun. Any Elon Musk fanboys here? I may offend you. All right, so one thing I keep on hearing people say is that AI is like a genius. Now, if you look in history, people like Mozart, a lot of geniuses are brilliant, but I think it comes with a package. Sometimes they just don't fit in. There's something weird about them, including, I think, Mr. Musk here. And so, yes, AI is like a genius, but you know what? Sometimes AI requires a supporting to help them function in society. So the one way to think about AI orchestration is that it's the supporting that your AI genius needs to actually be able to function within your business environment. All right, with that, thank you very much. Coming right up is going to be Lauren and Chas, and we're going to go right into the solution showcase. And for lunch, I'll wrap up after they're done. Basically, later on, after that, we'll head over to lunch where breakfast was. All right, thank you.
A round of applause for Ed. He has laid the groundwork for everything we're talking about with AI. He's definitely the futurist. So thank you, Ed, for everything that you're doing in terms of allowing us to be here and then also educating us on all things AI. So we'll jump right in. We're going to be talking about some of our solutions that we have to showcase. We do have about 4 or 5 that we're ready to start working with within Openprise. And here, we just really want to show you what it's like to pull the levers, press the buttons, and show you what it'll look like within Openprise itself. So first off, I'll just say my name is Chas LaSalle. I've been working at Openprise for about 3.5 years. I mainly work on the implementation team, so all of the new customers that come in through Openprise. And my favorite OP task template is actually the merge data source task.
I hate that. So confusing. My name's Lauren Murray. I'm a senior customer success manager at Openprise. I've been there almost 4 years, which is a little bit crazy. Next month, I think. And my favorite task is infer. Just put it in a spreadsheet, make a list. Here we go. Thank you. I've got more fans than you right now.
Yeah, that's fine.
See how this goes.
That is okay. All right.
All right. This slide, most of you have seen it if you've had a business review with us, if you've had a road mapping session. I love it because I like to look up on my Zoom screen and just see all of your stressed out and anxious faces because we ask you what you want to do next, like what your problems are. And I just see panic as someone tries to make up a problem and think of a solution that we have that can fix it. So we're not going through this today. This is kind of how Openprise has always functioned. We're like, tell us your problem, we'll solve it. So today, instead of that, we're gonna look at it holistically. Let's see how we can help your whole life cycle with a customer and put something in place that you're gonna use, not even have to think about it. It's just gonna be there. We're gonna use this AI that Ed was just talking about, and we're gonna make that work for you with different solutions. You don't have to sit there and think, all right, what do I need to plug and play now? So that's about it for that one.
So first I want to talk a little bit about the core challenges. I mean, the things that you're seeing in front of you are things that we deal with every single day, right? We know how quickly data goes out of sync. We know that, especially when we have records in our database that are not actionable, when we're missing key pieces of information, it's harder to action on that data. And then we obviously have an ideal state of what we would like this data to look like. And sometimes there's a disconnect on how we get from that problem to actually getting to that solution. And I think that that's where the solutions that we're going to be talking about today really fall in. So the Openprise approach, we have a couple of different things. As Ed mentioned, it's not a magic bullet. AI is not going to be something that you're going to deploy one time. You'll have one prompt and it solves everything, right? So I want to highlight the fact that we have not one magic bullet, but we have a couple of different pieces that live within a cyclical nature within Openprise in order to help achieve the different pieces that we need in order to make it functional. So today we're going to be talking about champion movers, email scraping, calendar contact, identity resolution, and then also web scraping. And all of these, to some degree, have an element of AI worked in within them. So we'll be talking about AI in this slide that's coming up next. And we'll show you exactly what it looks like within Openprise to be able to deploy some of these things. Now, before we get directly into the solution, the main thing that I want to talk about is the Ask AI template. Can I get a show of hands? Who here has used the Ask AI template before within Openprise? It's in beta right now, so it's okay. Okay, wonderful. So thank you to the three of you. And I think what I want to do is break down what exactly the task template looks like, right? We all hear this amorphous idea about how AI can help us, but really I want to break down the individual pieces of these Ask AI templates. You've seen a couple of them in Ed's keynote just before this, but really I want to go through each of the individual pieces and show you how they function together. So firstly, we have a couple of these slides. We have the connection to the LLM or the language model that we'll be using. Openprise does have its own onboard LLM. That's incredibly important because of security as a main point of a main talking point. So within Openprise, we have our own LLM, and this means that we're not sending this information outward to another API, and we're not exposing this information so it doesn't become encrypted, right? So everything that lives within Openprise stays within Openprise, and especially with the AI, that's incredibly important for security. So that's number one. I just want to talk about a little bit about Ed's model orchestration, right? We do have an onboard LLM, but that doesn't mean that we can't help supplement some of your other AI initiatives, right? So we can connect to Gemini, we can connect to OpenAI, and those are things that we can leverage with the same task template. So this is something that is incredibly important that Ed spoke to, which was a little bit about testing the prompt. He spoke about AI and especially prompt engineering as sort of like a code that you can use with English language, right? It's not something that you have to necessarily learn to use SQL for, but being able to see how your prompt will interact within Openprise, being able to test the prompt before you actually put it on automation or run the complete job is incredibly helpful. So we have a couple of different pieces here that you can see. We have sample data that you can obviously put in and see how it will work. Then we have the complete result attribute. We'll go through this in just a moment. And then we have the individual result attributes, which is the place that we get to pull out specific information from the results, or we can see the result as a whole. And as you can see, we even have a response portion right over there and the entire prompt string. Now, what's cool about Openprise is typically when you're using ChatGPT, you'll use something like a singular chat bot or a singular chat window, right? So that relegates you to only that conversation. Openprise can use our chips, which is like all of the attributes that we see here. And as you can see on the screen, the description is one of those fields that we get to call in here using that chip. So effectively, we get to pull in large amounts of information, and it's not relegated to a single record, but it allows us to look at multiple different records in order to make this distinction. So this testing prompt here, incredibly powerful. One thing that you're not seeing here, but we will have also as well, is the prompt injection. So there's a little checkbox in our updated task where we're able to check for that prompt injection, like Ed was mentioning before, and being able to scan through your prompt to see if there's anything malicious. So if anybody's ever tried to write a prompt before, we all know that it takes a couple of different components, right? Ed spoke about direction. He spoke about some of the things that we'll need to include. I mean, obviously, attributes, the things that we're trying to look at is one of those things, but also examples, context, directives, how we want this AI to perform, all incredibly important when you learn to start prompt engineering. Something that we'll also talk about a little bit later is prompt caching, which is something incredible that I just recently learned about. So I'm extremely excited to hear more about that. So this will be the main chat piece where you put in your prompt. The next piece that we're going to be talking about is the test prompt. You guys just saw that. And then we have the total prompt string attribute. So because Openprise does operate on a large set of data, we want to look at all of the records that fall within there and all of the attributes that come with it. So being able to see the entire prompt string for a specific record, what kind of information is being introduced in the prompt is extremely important. And the same thing conversely when we get to the add attribute portion, because we may have more than one AI, right? We were talking about how AI is not a magic bullet. Sometimes we may need one or more separate AI steps in order to deploy on a task that we want to deliver. Something you'll see here is the complete result attribute. So when we go through and we actually want to see what the result is, we can pull out individual pieces, which is in the next piece right over here, but we also want to see the total result of everything that's coming back from said AI. So this portion here is the individual result attribute. So if we wanted to flag for anything specific, if we wanted to categorize any of the information that's coming from said AI, this is where we would call out what we need, and then we are also able to add a description in order to show us exactly what we're pulling out. So when we see the full data set, we have a larger picture.
Oh, this is me?
Yes?
All right, story time. I don't have a banana or a seahorse in my story like Ed did, but I do have this AI-generated child. And there will be a quiz, so pay attention to our little story here. Yay, okay. All right, so everybody's had this come up. You have a customer, a champion, perhaps a consultant, like our girl Nina here, up there. You've worked with them for a long time. They're a consultant, so they don't have a business email. They're using their Gmail account, and then suddenly they're gone from their company. Where'd they go? You know, this is your champion. You want to find this person, you want to work with them again, but you don't really have much to go on with this personal email address. You're not even sure what her full name is, her first name. Is it just Nina? Is it Christina? Is it short for something? You don't know. You know, you've lost her and you want to find her, and you're kind of stuck. So what do? You know, this is where Openprise can come in. All right, so our first one that we're going to talk about, our first solution, is champion movers with AI. So you're looking for your champion. You're trying to detect where they've gone, what if they have actually left a company, or if the company is just, perhaps it's merged, it's really the same company. And you want to update, you know, their role, their title, their level, anything like that. And you still want to keep that history that you've had. You've built your CRM, we've cleaned it up. You know everything, where everybody is, and you want to retain all of that history. So that's what Champion Movers will help you do. And how does it work? So we use a lot of components in Champion Movers to determine where this person is and their new title. And so this is what we're using. Some Google search. We've tacked on AI. If you've used Champion Movers in the past, Ed has upgraded it and our developers. And we're using AI now as well to make sure that what we're giving you is the correct information. So you want to keep your old record, like I said. And this is something that you can do monthly. You can set the limit of how many customers you're tracking. So we're not just tracking your whole CRM database, but we're tracking those champions that you really care about. All right. So where does AI fit in? What we're talking about, Chaz just set us up for it. We're utilizing all that data that we got from Google search, D&B, Bright Verify, and we're putting that in AI, and we're saying, is this correct? Where did this person go? Are they now just at Apple, and now they're at Apple Inc.? We want to know if that's actually different. So AI is helping us identify whether this person has truly changed company or if there's just been some sort of change in their in the CRM. So we've got AI here. Chaz walked us through, so you kind of know what this looks like. I'm sure you're all experts now. This is what it looks like. We have the prompts. Ed talked about our recipes. We've got those in there for you. We've done the hard work. We know it doesn't work. We've tested this hours, days, weeks we've been testing. So we have this written for you so that you can use this with our champion solution and know that it's gonna work how we intend for it to. All right, so we're back to story time. This is still me? Okay, good. Back to our story. We've got our girl Nina here. You found her with Champion Movers. You found out her name is actually Christina. She just goes by Nina, and she's at a new company. And you're happy you've got her back with this new company. So is that where their story ends? Of course not. This is just the beginning of our cycle that we're talking about. So you've got the new company, things are going great with Nina. She actually gets a promotion, and before she even announces it on LinkedIn, like we all do, you see it in her email signature that she has this new title. Now she's senior something. And so let's talk about how Openprise can take that little detail that you may or may not have noticed and use AI to complete the life cycle.
Thank you. All right. So we'll talk about our next solution, which is email scraping. Now, the next two solutions I'm going to be talking about are utilizing things that we use every single day. I'm sure everybody in this room utilizes email, uses a calendar, right? We all live and die by the calendar as of right now. So we use this solution to help scrape your email fields. We help identify the information that we can push actively to your CRM. And the things that we're looking for are like title updates, out of office notifications, any direct phone numbers that we see, and most importantly, any net new contacts that come up. So we want to be able to use, for all of my fellow nerds in the room, we use what we have, like Dune, right? We never want to let anything slip through the cracks. We want to use anything and everything possible where we can. And I think that's also important in our, when we bring it together with the AI, right? So as you can see above, we do have an AI cookbook. We supply all of these different prompts in order to extract the best information possible. And then ideally what we want to do is utilize this information and anything we extract from here, in order to be able to see if we already have it in your system, and then refresh any of the contacts we have. Maybe somebody has a title update in their signature that maybe is different from what you have in your CRM. So we get to update the information that we have, but then also keep everything within a living ecosystem. And that also goes for calendar contact scraping. I'm sure we've all been on meetings where we have 20 or 30 different attendees, and not every single person that's on that attendee list is within your CRM. So we get to pull that information directly from the calendar. It eliminates a lot of the manual entry that comes along with this, and it also automates the process, right? Especially with Openprise's automation, we get to keep this within a cyclical nature. We get to pull things in automatically, and it reduces your need to actually go into your CRM, pull all the relevant information from all these different sources, and input it directly. So Part of how we use the calendar contact scraping also is we talk about, bumping it up against your CRM. This includes inferring to your CRM to see if it already exists. The ideal state is that we wouldn't want to dedupe any information. We also want to update any information that we may see that may be different. And we can add that new contact as into an existing account if we see one. And then we talk a little bit more about story time, right? So we know Nina, she's at this new place, she has a new email, she's being invited to all of these meetings. So it's incredibly important for us to keep that information, to pull all of that information from all of her new experiences. And as you can see, because she moves to this new company, because she has a wealth of new information and new contacts to access, her book of business, the people that she interacts with on a day-to-day is growing. But that doesn't necessarily mean that she has all the information she needs. She may have only a couple of pieces of information. And I think that this is where the web scraping will come in next.
Yes, thank you. All right. So let's talk about web scraping. Actually, let's go back one. You've got this web page. You know there are people at Nina's company that you want to meet with, and you know your ICP. You don't necessarily need enrichment for this. You don't need someone to introduce you, and you know who the people are. You just want to get them in your CRM. You don't want to have an SDR wasting time looking through email or looking through websites and putting all of these people in your CRM. So this is where our web scraping comes in. So we use web scraping with AI to extract information from a website. So if you've got the website, we look at it, we look at all of that information, and we can create a contact card for you. So we can categorize that information and get it structured. So it's basically just a text blob when you look at it, So we're trying to make that something that you can action. Okay? So this is what the web scraping solution looks like. This is how it starts. You've got your URL in there. Really big. If you put your URL in there, the first one, the one that you'd like to scrape, and then we can store all of the results from that in the second piece here. So we create an attribute where your responses are going to go. If you don't have the attribute, obviously in Openprise, you can always create an attribute and name them appropriately. JD, looking at you, some crazy attribute names. All right, so we're back to our website. We want all of this information. We know who the CEO is now. So we look at this page, we type that into our web scraper, and we create contact cards for these people. So now we know what Jasmine does. We've got Belle in there. Everybody is safely in your CRM from that website. You didn't have to spend a ton of time. SDRs aren't digging. You've got them in, and you can now contact them. Perfect.
Yeah. And let's say, for example, with web scraping in mind, that you have a website that you know has a wealth of information on it that you want to be able to pull into your CRM. Utilization of web scraping plus AI really, really helps us in order to machine through that data. The web scraping will pull all of the relevant information from that page. Let's say it's a list of doctors, their titles, their phone numbers, that kind of thing. Once we have all of that information, the AI task that we use within Openprise actually helps us to machine through it, parse it into individual attributes that can be referenced and can be actioned on when we move on. And then finally, as you're seeing in front of us, we have identity resolution. So who else's bane of existence is free emails? Is it just me? Okay, thank you. Okay, a couple more. So everybody knows that if you have a free email, I mean, it's one of those things that you have to fix for, right? A lot of it comes through as junk. We oftentimes flag it and remove it from play when we're talking about automation just because it can't be trusted. Now, identity resolution here allows us to take free emails. It takes a nominal amount of information and allows us to pull back a complete data profile. So that one email that you had prior that was unworkable, unusable, we've now found that contact, and now we can pass it to your sales teams, pass it to any leadership that you need to have. And now that one record that was inactionable before is now usable to you. So the problem is, obviously we have a free email. We don't know exactly who that belongs to. And then because of Openprise, with our identity resolution, we are able to find out that specific information. And this will work similar to automated acquisition or targeted enrichment, if anybody has used that within here. So it will operate off of a file that gets updated regularly. So we will be able to consistently bring in fresh information so that we can resolve those identities. And one such example is, we don't have it currently live quite yet, but one of my customers, we do have to do some identity resolution for them. We have to do a pre-event list where we may only get first name, last name, and their company. And we're supposed to bring back all of the relevant information before they get to go action on it. So that's a piece that we still are employing right now, and it will only get better as we get more efficient and as we implement this new process. And this right here is just showing, right, we had John Doe, which may have came in as johndoe@gmail.com, but we have now his company. We now have his corporate email, johndoe@company.com. So it's just an illustration to show we can change something that was unusable before into something that's now more workable.
Yep. And like we said, Nina started out with a personal email. So you can see, like, she could come in at any point in this. It doesn't have to start at Champion Movers. We could have started that at IDR if that's what was running and gotten a professional email address from her. So it's cyclical. This isn't something that has to run like back to back. This is something that all of these solutions can run consistently throughout, just in the background, like you would a dedupe or a standardization. And they're all just working together. Can we go back to the... Thank you. But let's finish out our story. This is our child still with us, so hopefully you are too, finishing this story out. But to do a quick recap, we met Nina as a consultant at a company. She was a champion that left. We didn't know where she went. We were able to find her through our Champion Movers with AI. When she got that promotion, our Openprise email scraper found that new title, updated that in our CRM. No manual work there. When we had a meeting with one of Nina's coworkers, we're going to call him Craig, he was invited to a meeting, and he got added as well through calendar scraping. He's now in our CRM, and he wasn't before. Didn't have to do that. We got his title and everything from the meeting. And what else do we have here? What do we do after that? IDR. And anyone else who does come in, if there are other consultants, all of those freemium emails that come in, we put those through identity resolution, and we're able to identify their business email instead of just their personal email. Okay. Now the next one. Thank you. So yeah, this is our cycle in action. As you can see, it's cyclical. It doesn't necessarily have a start and end. It's not something you have to think about, what do I want to employ next? We have our Champion Movers. We've got our email scraping. If we have a meeting, we have our calendar scraping. We have our web scraping. If you do want to find other employees at that company, you can find them through our web scraping. And then finally, we have our IDR for our personal emails where you want to find their business. And we've got some time for Q&A. Questions? The quiz? What was Nina's real first name? You were listening. I love that. I love that for me. Yes. Any other questions? Yes?
So kind of what Ed was talking about, where you have websites now protecting their information, is that going to impact anything with your web scraping capabilities? Or do you anticipate maybe potentially getting false information from something like that?
That's a great question. I think that there will be websites that we have to look out for, right? Like everybody knows LinkedIn. If you try to scrape LinkedIn too many times, you end up running into a block, or they end up blocking you. So I think that we will have to be cognizant, and obviously Openprise will help facilitate which websites we shouldn't go ahead and scrape against. But I know that there will be a certain amount of limitations just on making sure that we're choosing the correct websites to scrape from. And
Yeah, so Jackson, so the scraping is using a headless browser in the back end. So for the most part, it looks like a human being doing it. The key difference is whether the site owner can detect whether it's bot activity is basically both based on frequency and volume. And so in this case, we're doing the volume for your individual customers using this to hit different websites. We shouldn't see that level of repetition that would trigger the sites to the protection mechanism.
Question.
That's a great question. When you say compliance, do you mean like specifically with our IDR, like the identity resolution, or?
GDPR, things like that. As a general rule, those, if you are scraping and you get an email address, an individual can mail an individual, but you can't mass manage, right? So you can't just add them to a list that is considered spam, and it does violate GDPR. But if you have an individual sales rep who is specifically reaching a specific account and they email person to person, it's not spam because it's not a mass or widespread strategy.
I have a question about how IDR is working. Maybe I missed this portion. Is that like a Google search component where it's trying to find a first name, last name, and then pair it with a company? Like how are you actually acquiring the corporate email? Or like a company name for that matter? Because oftentimes like for us or for emails.
Yeah, so that's based off a data set we have. So currently we're at 2 vendors that make up that data set. I think we're right now close to about 500 million records in that data set. It's basically a simple lookup of business email versus personal emails. Sometimes you have multiples. And in some cases, we have some basic company information as well. So this data set is right now updated about on a monthly basis. And we're actively looking to add more data partners to that data set as well. But right now it's about 400 million-ish records. So there's actually 2 use cases with that. One is if you have personal, you want to look up the business, which again can greatly improve the performance of your enrichment once you have the business email. But we're also seeing more use cases where people have business, they want the personal emails. If you're doing any advertising on LinkedIn, Facebook, in most people's profile, it's associated with those personal emails. So we can get you the personal emails if you want to do social media targeting.
Would you say performance increases if like for us, like in our product survey, we'll ask for like additional attributes like company name or something, and maybe we could try to fuzzy match based on that, but we can't verify that they actually work there, so we're hesitant to convert to a contact. But would you say for IDR, having those additional attributes would be better than just like Zoom info doesn't improve the match rate if it's like company name in the personal emails, but for IDR, maybe it does because we have the personal email and the company name.
Yeah, the more you can gather, the better. In that case, for example, we can take the Gmail, look at the business email, and we can actually compare that to the other information you gather, right? That can, again, potentially just further improve your kind of trust in that data to a degree. Says, you know what, yeah, not only I found it looks like I actually found the right email because it actually matches the company name the person put in. So.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of these work together. You know, you don't just have to, we've had enrichment siloed for so long, and it's saying, all right, well, this is what we've got, so this is what we have to put in our CRM. And we're saying, you can take IDR, you can run it through enrichment, you can also use AI. You can use all of these things together to get that correct data now into your system.
Yeah, we talk about AI hallucinations, but you guys all know, I mean, even enrichment vendors, the data they come in is not always correct either, right? And I don't know how many companies I've been talking to, like talking about they don't trust the domain data that comes back. So a lot of this is really talking about, you know, this goes to the heart of orchestration, right? It's really doing combination of third-party data, your own AI-enabled scraping, fracking, right, and compare your own first-party data. It's all about putting all these pieces together and be able to kind of do your own triaging in some ways. And with all the resources out there, that's, you know, from what we can see going forward, especially with AI, basically that kind of responsibility is shifting towards you now, right? You basically have to take control of how do you orchestrate and triage so you can increasingly be more confident about specific set of data just because you got multiple sources that says, yep, this all seems like they all agree.
Use case popped into my mind while you guys were talking, and I was like, it can't be this simple. So I just wanted to ask, is it this simple? So say we've got somebody who's actually had an interaction in Salesforce. So there is an email object that has been generated against this person, right, but we don't have job title or phone number or something like that. Can we just set and forget an orchestration that just like says, if there's an email object and this is empty, that just populates? Is it that easy?
Typically, the email data, for example, like what we use all of them, Salesloft, Outreach, and Gong. That interaction is usually captured in the Salesforce task object already. For a lot of companies. So you're already sitting on that data.
Yeah,
just in the wrong place.
What I'm saying, because I have so much of that.
Correct. So basically, in this case, all you have to do is job that have AI go. We have a recipe for this. So basically, you can just go ahead, clean up that email thread, and often it's not just one email, it's a whole chain of emails capture. So how do you basically scrape out the information and being able to, in the email scraping cookbook, there's a couple things in here. One is to scrape information off out of the signatures, right? Second one, handling out of office situations.
I want to do that tomorrow.
Yeah, by the way, that data, like Lauren said, that data is better than any data you can buy.
Yeah. I feel like we're doing that at lunch today, Mitch.
Yeah.
Is that what we're doing? Great.
I have to go beg for money for something, but all right after that.
Yeah, and this is the case where even in terms of compliance, that data is already in your system. You already have it, right? You just haven't been able to make use of it because pre-AI, that is fairly hard task to do.
I feel like 5 years ago, I asked somebody if we could do that, maybe here, but yeah, it was a no-go.
It's called outsourcing.
Yeah.
I think you had a question. Oh, did you have a question?
Yeah. I think you showed a solution where you can look at Outlook or Zoom and bring it in these. I think there was a solution where you showed that Openprise can look at Zoom or Outlook and bring attendees or people who are on the invite back to your CRM. Does it have to be connected to every sales rep's individual accounts to be able to do that? For example, a use case we have at Nutanix is SDRs do a pretty good job of adding all the contacts to CRM, but when it comes to account executives, outside sales reps, they just don't have the time. So is there a way we can look at all the account executives' Outlook, look at who they're meeting, and add them back to our CRM?
Yeah, the way it works is that you basically have a data source that may be, for example, your Salesforce user object. Basically, it's a data source that says, here are the mailboxes we want to scrape. Calendar inboxes we want to pull. So we'll only pull those specific inboxes. So for example, this may be just your sales team or just your SDR team, right? So yeah, right now we have integration to Google Calendar, Microsoft Exchange, so we can pull the calendar invite down. Now usually what's in the invite is only just an email. Sometimes you get a name. Yep. Right, but based on the email, then you can basically compare to what's in your system, and based on what we have seen so far, anywhere between 15 and 25% of the people in those calendars that your sales team is actually actively meeting with, they're not in your CRM, Angelina. And so yeah, then again, then once we can say, hey, this person doesn't exist, right? Then you can also then go through an enrichment process as well to find the missing information before you put it into your CRM.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then the team and the Zoom integration, which is coming, right? That's similar use case, except oftentimes people who you invite is not the same people who showed up. So the Zoom and the Teams to make sure we capture people who actually showed up, whether because or people who didn't show up. And oftentimes, right, calendar invite gets forwarded and people just showed up. So you can capture all that.
All right. And Ed will be going more in depth on everything in the AI workshop. So we're kind of setting him up for that and more questions there and how all of this will work together. But you had another question?
The same way that you're adding contacts from from those email activities, like you're saying, to the account, can you associate them with opportunities and add them to opportunities as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So in fact, one of the tasks built into the email scraping is not only if we found the contact, we found the account, you can also see if there's any open opportunities associated with this person. Because if your salesperson is actually meeting with them, right, it's actually in the sales guy's calendar, that's very good likelihood there is a opportunity. So you can actually attach that to the opportunity in some shape or form, right? In some cases, if the rep is actually not even, they haven't even created opportunity because they're sandbagging, right? You can potentially even detect that. And later on, when we're able to pull, for example, pull the transcript or summary from Team and Zoom, you can even examine the transcript to say, what the hell did they talk about, right? Whatever they talk about may be good enough to say, you know what, the manager needs to know that this opportunity should exist, but it doesn't exist.
Is not only just getting those contacts into the CRM, but also being able to show the attribution of those people, because being able to basically show the full life cycle of the customer's journey is really important. And if you don't have those contacts in the database and say, hey, at this account, this many people engaged, here are the campaigns they engaged in, then you can't tell the story.
Hey, Josh, did you ever implement that thing about pulling the contact from the calendar and based on what type of meeting it is, you do the attribution? Did you ever get around to that?
So the challenge with you guys is it has to connect the whole calendar, not individual calendars. So if you can connect individual calendars, then that would be very easily doable.
We should be able to do that.
So you guys can connect individual calendars.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. Okay. Just so you guys know, Josh's idea was depends on what type of meeting it is. For example, this is a discovery call. This is a qualification call. This is a demo. You can actually use the calendar event, the meeting type, to potentially.
There's a label on Google Calendar that you can label the meeting.
Correct. So you got to train the rep to do the right thing. But if you have that label, and Google has this stupid color scheme thing, and that you can potentially use to essentially, again, use that to say, hey, this opportunity just went past the demo stage or went past the discovery stage.
Well, any final questions? Going once? All right, we're all set then.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Great job, Ben.